All right, yeah. Episode 9 of the Vodcast,
Vodcast.
where we're going to be looking at rares again. And this time we're going to be looking at the Ranger rares, which we haven't really upgraded either of our Ranger decks yet, so this ought to be interesting. Definitely be a new experience.
I feel like I should pull up my Lexi deck so I know
what we had. It's
Yeah.
probably not a bad idea. And we haven't built Azalea yet. I was
correct.
building it at one point before Tales of Aria came out.
I feel like you built it.
It was a mess. I didn't actually build
longer before that. You were
Yeah,
trying. You
I
started.
was trying.
Yeah.
I was trying. And what I decided was that it was a train wreck. It was a mess. It was awful. There's
Yep.
not a ton of decks you can even look at, or you could have at that time, because Azalea wasn't really winning anything, so there wasn't a lot of examples to use. Now we have Lexi decks, which have actually top 8 events and things like that,
Yep.
so, that helps. All right, well, I guess we're going to dive into the rares. So we'll start with this one, and then we'll look at Ice and Lightning rares too as part of this one, because it kind of affects
Lexi. Yep.
in a loose sense. All right, Take Cover is actually kind of neat. I think there is an argument for this one. This is one of the ones I have actually looked at. One of
Okay.
the very few ones I have, and it's because
It
it is a
reloads?
0-cost defense reaction that blocks for 4, and it does in fact reload.
Okay.
Which is good if you're using, I think, if I remember correctly, I think Lexi's bow is elemental.
Yes.
So I think Azalea does
No,
not
wait.
get it. It's odd because the Briar Sword is not, and the Oldham Hammer is not, but I think the Lexi bow is. I think they randomly decided that even imprinting a bunch of new Ranger cards to help all the
Yep.
Rangers out, they just decided to shoot Azalea.
Yep. It is elemental.
Yep. And again, the Runeblade Sword is not.
Mm-hmm.
The Guardian Hammer is not. They just arbitrarily decided that the Ranger gets screwed with the bow. So why that's important is that bow reloads at instant speed.
Yes, it is.
And the other bows do not, I think. I have to, with Redliner's coming up. We'll look at it when we get there. But I like the normal, original bow does not do it at instant speed. So ways to reload things on the opponent's turn can actually be somewhat useful, because if you had to empty your hand, nothing's in the bow at this moment. So having something like this that can allow you to load something into the bow before your turn starts can kind of be good. And again, in Blitz, since you don't have a sideboard, it is hard to mainboard defense reactions, and this is probably the most mainboardable defense reaction, because it does something the Ranger wants to do anyways, while being staple to exactly what you want a defense reaction to look like, a 0-cost block 4. So I think Take Cover does have some arguments for being a good rare. I think it's probably one of the best or most considerable defense reactions.
You would, however, ironically, not arsenal this card
Well, I mean,
because it's not an arrow card.
but you can arsenal it.
You
though,
could.
still.
You could.
Because it will come out of the arsenal and then fill your
That's
arsenal.
true.
So
I guess.
it can work. But yeah. But that rare I think is actually worth considering, because it's a nice way you can make your deck be a little more defensive than other Blitz decks or commoner decks without greatly handicapping yourself, or
Right.
giving yourself too many dead turns. And then Silver the Tip, that is just where you refill your arsenal, right? Yeah, so you look at the top 4 cards. I'm going to guess, let me just make sure of that. I'm going to guess that the number of cards you look at is based on the color. Yes.
Yep.
It's actually not that bad. Puts it face up. I'm not sure how relevant that really is. There's not necessarily a lot of things I care about face up in commoner. It's good for the legendary hat that gives you an extra slot if something's face up.
Right.
But that doesn't really help with commoner. I actually kind of like this though, because this lets you sculpt your turn for like the best the best play. And rather than just like opting for, it's actually letting you put it into the arsenal. So it reloads your arsenal and digs deep for cards. I actually kind of like this. You can't, and there's no other card. This is kind of like the poster child if there's no other cards that do this in common.
Right.
Like this is something you'd be spending a rare on that's actually unique. But I kind of like that. It's not.
Do you like
tutor,
it
but
better than the other one?
Oh, the defense reaction.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean maybe because this kind
versatile.
of yeah. I mean, so it kind of sucks that like you don't really want to use the blue one because top 2 you can actually whiff, especially if you're putting non arrow attacks into your deck like this one. So I mean it can whiff, and so like blue only going 2 deep is a little bit sketchy, but I suppose with Ranger you don't necessarily need a ton of resources, so maybe you're fine running the red or like the yellow, because yellow going 3 cards deep actually seems okay. And again, it kind of lets you, like, if you draw like all bad arrows, you can kind of go digging deeper for better arrows. Oh, and it does go face up too, which means if you find headshot off it, it'll get pumped. So I could see this. I could see this being runnable in either of the Rangers. Actually, what's kind of nice about it with Lexi is it can help you find like the good utility attack. So if you have like ice, like if you have an ice card in your hand but you don't have any things that fuse off it, this can help you find the arrow cards that fuse off the ice card. It won't help you find the ice card.
No,
but...
it will bury your ice cards.
Yeah, it will. It will in fact bury your ice cards on the bottom of your deck. Yeah, accurate. But it'll help you find the arrows that fuse off it. So if you have the opposite problem where you just have the frost cards but no arrow off it, this can help you find the utility. So, which I guess with the Lexi deck, we did sort of have a lot of that deck built into the idea of you wanted that one good turn where you crack the boots or whatever to give you go again, and you fire off like a bunch of on-hit effects that buff each other.
Yep.
So, I mean, this helps you find that combo.
I could see it.
So, yeah, I think this one's very playable. All right, so that was those. I remember liking Take Aim, but I can't remember why. We'll do the traps after that. So, Take Aim. Okay, this is another pump spell. Yeah. Oh, that's why I liked it, because it costs 0.
Yeah.
It's a come to fight for 0 that also reloads. That's the nice part, because reloading is very nice, as we've seen with Rangers. Sometimes you struggle with that problem of like you could have 2 attacks a turn, but you can't put things into your arsenal twice, or so it's always nice to have things like this. And again, it's a come to fight for 0. So I'm trying to remember Overflex and what Overflex costs. Yeah, you have it on that list, right?
It costs 1.
And how much does it pump?
The blue pumps 2.
Okay, so the red one is actually going to pump more than this.
Yep.
And do all the same things?
I don't have a red in here.
Okay. Yeah. So it's +2 reload and go again?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well. That does hurt Take Aim quite a bit, doesn't it? Because this essentially is the penultimate example of there's already a card in common that does this, so do you want to use a rare slot on something that you can already kind of do? And the difference is, like, for Overflex, if you want to do the same thing that Take Aim does here with the red one, you can just use the yellow Overflex.
Right.
Which will give you +3. And so, yeah, it'll cost 1 as opposed to 0, but it also pitches for 2, so it's more likely to pay for other things. All right. I really like Take Aim, but I think I've essentially killed it mid conversation.
Yeah.
But I introduced it and I'm like, oh, I love Take Aim, and I'm like, oh, but it's kind of meh.
Yeah.
If it didn't take a rare slot, I would take it over Overflex. But
Overflex is a common. Don't forget.
Yes. Yeah. So it doesn't take a slot.
That's true.
Yeah. That's why I'm like, you don't really want to waste a rare slot on something that we already have a common that does That's what it does. So, yeah, I guess take aim's not really worth looking at. I would take the defense reaction before this, just to have a more defensive option. And because if warrior ends up really busted, it's always nice to have defense reactions so you can block after the fact. Once you've seen them pump their sword attack to like 80 million. All right. Well then, we got a bow. Yep, it is an action. Okay. It is an action.
Yep.
This is absolutely what you would probably spend a rare slot on in Azalea, though. Probably. I mean, like, so every Azalea deck uses this rather than the other bow, Death Dealer, which on the one hand feels bad to me because Death Dealer draws you a card. It puts an arrow card from your hand into your arsenal, and you draw a card. Or, well, actually, it puts any card in your arsenal, I think, and then if it's an arrow card, you draw a card, I think. Something like that. But it costs 1, whereas this costs 0. Now, Death Dealer does have the plus side, though, of the drawing a card usually replaces whatever you had to... Or you lose a card to pay for the cost of the bow, but then you gain a new card, so you really haven't lost anything, quote unquote.
You basically pay to reload your arsenal.
The only part where it comes into problems is if you don't have enough to pay for it. Right off the bat. Like if you have a 0 cost arrow as your only card in your hand, you can't do anything. Because you can't pay to load it and then fire it.
Right.
Even though it costs 0. Whereas with Redliner you can, because you pay 0, load it, and then you pay 0, fire it. Which there is like Sikkim Shot, I think, is 0, for example. But so I think there's an argument for using your rare slot on the Redliner. It's really going to come down to, like, at some point I'm going to build Azalea, and I'm going to see how much I'm fighting for rare slots.
Right. Now, I'm not 100% sure that Redliner is worth it to go into the Lexi deck. We'll have to see.
So the one thing that Lexi has is, like, her bow does a lot.
Yes.
And it does it at instant speed.
It does.
You do have to pay for it, but you can give arrows dominate.
Right.
And that's actually pretty big. It's not the +1 or whatever. That's not what you're thinking about it for. It's the dominate. Dominate is pretty broken in a ranger deck because all of your arrows have on-hit effects. So I think her bow is still better.
Yeah.
I think it's just Azalea really
needs
thinks
that.
about Redliner. Yeah. And again, it's going to have to come down to, like, when I actually start building the deck, like, how much am I hurting for rares? How many silver the tips in was it take covers? Yeah, do I need?
We keep forgetting about it, but it's like the number 1 so far.
Well, maybe silver the tip might be a little bit better.
That's true.
That one might be.
The other one is a defense reaction, so it's kind of not 100% necessary.
All right, and then we have the traps, which is like an entire different ranger deck you could build in and of itself.
Yep.
So this is like, if you're going, like, I guess would this be considered control ranger? These have so many issues with them right off the rip, and that's why you don't see any, like, trap rangers in general. Because, for example, they're defense reactions, and they have to be played from your arsenal.
Right.
Which means you can't be putting arrows in your arsenal, because you have to be putting these in your arsenal.
And they don't count as arrows.
Yes. And so, like, certain bows can't put these in your arsenal. Right. It's just... There's a lot of issues with the traps. But you could make an entire deck based off them. I just don't necessarily know it would be good. Because Tripwire Trap takes it so, like, hit effects don't trigger this chain link unless the attacking hero pays 1. So here's the problem. This would be debatably good if it just read hit attacks don't trigger this chain link.
Right.
It would be debatably good.
But since you have to pay for it.
And you can pay for it. So, like, where this would be best is a Guardian, you'd think. Because their on-hit effects are brutal. Or like another Ranger.
So,
but the Guardian can pay for it.
Yeah.
The Ranger, not so much. The Guardian can pay for those on-hit effects because all of their cards pitch for 3.
So what you could do, however, is do a Ice Lexi.
You could.
Where she's not running any arrows.
It's just like
so
icy
she's like
encounter.
Yeah, so she's just like a pseudo Guardian.
And you're running like the traps.
Uh-huh.
I mean, it'd be kind of interesting, though.
It
actually would be kind of interesting.
It is a deck. You know, I did try to build something similar before, but I didn't think of it this way.
and it's just like you're using things like this, so they have so much crap they have to pay for that they can't pay for all of it. Make them discard cards unless they pay. Give them frostbite tokens, so they have to pay more. And then you use things like this, so they have to pay even more for the on-hit effects.
Yep.
But then the problem with this is you're going to run into like a Chain or Viscerai player.
Where they don't care.
They really don't care. Like, they have the Mauvrian Skies and the meet and greets, but like, they're just going to hit you and try to kill you. And this is not going to do anything other than just be a 0-cost defense reaction that blocks for 4.
It's like, frost counters?
Yep. Yep.
Gonna...
It's kind of okay.
Soul Shackle and pass my turn.
It's kind of okay for Warrior, but not much. Yeah. Because, actually, I guess it shuts down like the Dawnblade getting extra counters. But it doesn't stop any of the things that care about hitting for you to gain Go Again.
Right.
Because the boost is just if you hit, you can crack this to gain Go Again, which is not technically an on-hit effect. I don't think.
Really?
I don't think so.
Because
it's not hitting.
Right. That's true.
Like, I think this... Well, maybe not. Maybe that counts as a hit effect.
Because it says on hit?
Well, yeah, because this is... Yeah. Maybe. Because it's an effect that revolves around hitting. So maybe that's true. But that still only stops the boots. That's about it. Yeah. Very situational. Very situational.
You could make a jank deck.
This is a meme one. This is a memer. This is the 100 wins. Yep. This is the aura Runeblade we were talking about, where you're just going like super into auras. I know I just played Viscerai with Tropes of Skullhorn, but I mean like super into auras.
Okay, yeah.
We're talking like the one where you're running all the like blood spill invocations and Runeblade incantations. But yeah, let's see about the other traps though. Yeah, this one's a little bit better. It has other problems, notably that it only blocks for 3, not 4. Right. Again, defense reactions do have some advantage over regular cards because you can play them after blocks are declared, and so if they pump it with a Razor Reflex, you can block it more.
Right. Is it only yellow?
It is only yellow.
Oh.
All of these traps are single color.
That's weird.
So like that previous trap is the only red one. This one's the only yellow one. The next one's a blue one.
Okay.
This one I like its effect though. The effect's awesome. Deal 2 damage unless they pay 1. I mean, you could use this in that same ice one, and if you're making it so they can't pay, or they're paying all this extra tax, it's going to be hard for them to pay not to take 2. And 2 is actually decent damage.
Right.
That's the most damage I think that a defense reaction can do. All the other ones are like deal 1.
And this is just unblockable damage? Unless they pay for it?
Maybe? Does this count as arcane damage?
Well, it's like...
They made the rule so much worse by adding non-specified damage.
Yeah.
Because typically speaking, this would count as arcane damage.
Or I think it is the unspecified damage. It's just...
Yeah. Might be.
Because otherwise, why wouldn't you just block it? Oh, I guess because it's not an attack.
Yeah, you can't block it. You can't block it.
Okay, so it is unspecified.
So the only thing is, if it's unspecified, they can't do anything except runaways to it. Otherwise, if it is arcane damage, you can arcane barrier it.
Can you battle warn it?
Although, why would you arcane barrier it? That's why it doesn't matter. Okay, that's why it doesn't matter. Because like if it's arcane barrier, you'd rather just pay this one than pay the arcane barrier cost.
Right.
Because you could block 2 for 1.
Yeah.
Or you could block 2 for 2 using arcane barrier. Yeah, I guess it really is irrelevant whether it's arcane or non-specified. Yeah. I like this. I do like if you're gonna try to build a trap ranger and you're going to spend all 6 of your rare slots on some very mediocre traps, this is one of the better ones. Probably. I mean, we'll have to see what the blue one does. But that's an interesting one. That's what the blue one does. There's some problems with this, but basically it just says that target attack gets -2 unless they pay an extra 1.
Right.
And this blocks for 2. Which means, effectively, it is exactly the same as a 0-cost defense reaction that blocks for 4 and has no text on it.
Right.
So, technically speaking... Well, I mean, I guess the quote-unquote bright side about this is that it's theoretically a 0-cost defense reaction that blocks for 4 and pitches for 3.
Okay. But...
Or you could just do Springblade Somersault.
Yeah.
Or Springboard Somersault, which has an effect required to produce that block for 4, but it's an effect you control, not your opponent controls. All right, maybe this saves you some rare slots in the Trap Ranger. Maybe you don't take this. Maybe you're going the Springboard Somersault over this one. I don't know that you would necessarily want 8 defense reactions in that deck.
Right. Well, I guess you'd run maybe the yellow, and then you'd run the take cover.
Yeah. Oh, that's true.
Yeah.
You could do take cover. So you do like take cover. You do the yellow one that deals damage, and then maybe you do the red one too in case you run into the Guardian or Ranger player. And if you don't run into them, it's still a block 4 for 0.
Right.
I don't know.
Defense reactions. They're...
Yeah. And I mean, like, I was going to say here, like, this could be good for lowering the attack on like, a Dominate card. But you could already play a 0-cost block 4 defense reaction on a Dominate card.
Right.
So it's not really any big advantage. It's not doing much. Not doing much. All right, now we're getting into the real Lexi stuff. And also to the end of the Ranger rares.
Yep.
Not a ton of them yet. All right, Cold Wave. Cold Wave is pretty sweet from what I remember. Yeah. Cards and activate abilities cost opposing heroes an additional resource this turn. So, it's pseudo Frostbite / Hamstring Shot.
Right.
But it doesn't stop. Frostbite's going to mess up the very first thing they do. This messes up every single thing they do.
That's true.
And same with Hamstring Shot. Hamstring Shot is also the first one.
Mm-hmm.
This is just... The misery comes all year round, and there's nothing they can do about it.
I like it.
I do too, I think.
It costs 1.
5 power.
Yep.
That's already really good.
Good.
I mean, the yellow one's going to be 4, which those are, again, the important cutoffs.
Right.
That's what you want.
Even a blue does 3, which is...
And the wild part here, too, is it doesn't even need to hit. You just have to fuse it.
That's true.
You just need to fuse it. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I guess you could use 4 to 6 Lexi rare slots on this. This is probably the best card for tossing into the deck we built.
Yeah.
Is that at least you could throw 4 of these in, and it's suddenly amazing. Like, I mean, I would have to look at the list again to figure out what we cut. But I mean, like, you could just drop Hamstring Shot for this.
You could.
This is just better Hamstring Shot. You might still keep the Hamstring Shots. Maybe there's some other arrows where the, like, on-hit effects are so, like, irrelevant or, like, you don't care that you'd rather just throw this in.
Would we just get rid of a Salvage Shot?
Maybe. Although Salvage Shot is nice because it refills
nice.
your deck, and Ranger can't deal damage if you run out of cards. So Ranger is very much the one that, like, they have to die before your deck hits 0. But, yeah, Cold Wave this is sick. This is like one of the best ones that you could... This is like the best thing you could put a rare slot on, because while I'm talking about all these other, like, common cards that approximate it, because there's the one that makes Frostbite tokens on hit.
Mm-hmm.
There's the Hamstring Shot, which pseudo Frostbite tokens. You've got the one that makes them discard if it hits. But none of them just say, hey, if you fuse this, everything costs more next turn. And it's not just the first thing, it's everything they do. It's activated abilities, it's all of the things. Everything is misery.
Mm-hmm.
I love it. I love it. It's great for that.
What about Searing Shot?
That one's one you could consider dropping.
Because it is a 0 cost, but I mean...
Oh, it is a 0 cost?
It is a 0 cost.
But it's just they lose 1 extra, right?
Yeah. It's just a 4 damage with, like, they lose an extra if it hits. So, I mean, it's a mediocre card that is easier to use, but this has a lot more upsides.
It does. In my opinion. It does. Or even we just start dropping some of the, like, worse color arrows, like the yellows and stuff.
That's true.
And we're just like, okay, well, cut those. Which actually, we may have had some blue.
Oh, we can get
if I remember.
Amulet Ice.
No, we need it because that fuses. That's the ice card. That's what
that's
allows
true.
us to fuse things like Cold Wave.
What?
Did we have the blue ice arrow? The one that makes Frostbite tokens on hit?
The Chilling Ice Vein?
Yeah.
Yes, we did.
Or is that the Frostbite one, or is that the discard one?
That is the discard.
Okay. And that probably swings for, like, what, 2?
It swings for 3, actually.
Oh, on the blue?
Yeah.
Oh, no wonder we put it in.
Yeah.
Okay. But, it's still kind of rough. I don't know. There's debates for it. I'm sure we could find ways to shove this Cold Wave in.
We could.
Because, again, at minimum, it really is an upgrade over the Frostbite one.
I mean, realistically speaking, the Lexi...
should stack, I think, right? If you have 2 of them, and you can fire 2 in 1 turn. So I think it would stack.
Say additional. It does say additional.
Yeah, so it would stack, much like the Frostbite effect ones also stack.
Jeez.
I mean, the one good thing with, like, the generic ones is that, like, they're adding more and more things on it. So if you do, like, the one that gives Frostbite tokens, if that one hits, it'll give them a Frostbite token, and then your next arrow will have its own on-hit effects plus the Frostbite token. But yeah, if you do, like, double Cold Wave, everything costs 2 more on their next turn. Mm-hmm. This kills the chain player.
It does.
Literally, you just banish like 10 cards of Blood Debt off the top of your deck, can play none of them, and you just die. Yeah, Cold Wave. Cold Wave's really good.
I like it. We'll have to make room for it.
Yeah. It's one of those ones where I'm like, I'm not 100% sure of where it's going to go, but it's going to go. And again, you can even run the blue one because it doesn't even need to hit.
Right.
You can have the blue that swings for 3. It doesn't need to hit. It does not matter.
Right.
You just need an ice card in your hand to make it do all the misery.
It's kind of good that they made it so it can't hit. That's kind of broken.
Yeah. And then we have the lightning one, which is Snapshot. Oh,
indeed.
That does a lot of different things. Okay. That seems like that'd be so good with, like, Death Dealer. Because you could just keep drawing cards and doing more things off it. But this is essentially how you try to set up, like, a Ranger deck that can consistently do multiple things a turn.
Right.
Maybe that is the way you go with the lightning one. Is that you add, like, a lot of go again arrows and stuff like that.
I could see that, yeah.
Is there a lot of ways to add go again? Oh, I guess you can run Lead the Charge.
Yep.
Although you can't run a lot of Lead the Charges.
We do have Lead the Charge in the Lexi deck.
Yeah, because the red one works for everything. The yellow one only works for some arrows, and then the blue one is never going to do anything. So...
We do have yellow Lead the Charge in here.
Oh, do we?
Yep, yellow and red.
Red, yeah. Okay. So, I mean, yeah, if you build a lightning one, you could definitely do something with this, where Snapshot's letting you load your bow a bunch of times and get multiple attacks off, and that helps you set up, like, cool on-hit effect chains, where things are, like, buffing each other, which I presume the lightning arrows do, I would think. Just randomly, we're going to click this random person's deck list that they have here.
And we're going to judge him.
And we're going to see... Oh yeah, this isn't gonna be common, so this is probably a terrible idea. I don't know why I did this.
Majestic.
I've never even seen that card before, I'm gonna be honest. Oh, you know what? Maybe they don't really do that much. Because that one doesn't do. That's kind of the problem.
That one.
It looks
itself
like
gives a go again.
Yeah, it looks like it's good for for like setting up these cool chains, but the Lightning Lexi doesn't actually care about on-hit effects. And that's like kind of the best thing of doing multiple arrows in a turn is the Ice Lexi has all these things that they buff the on-hits of everything else.
Mm-hmm.
So if that was in ice, that would be even better.
It would.
But tragically, it is not.
Then we go back to the boring cards.
Now we do go back to the boring cards, that's true. Also known as the stuff Azalea is like...
bread and butter.
Yeah. Yep. When Bolton Shot's power is greater than space, it has go again, and if this hits, reload. That's actually kind of dirty. In a number of ways. So, in a Lexi deck, you could do some work with this.
Right, because you have the +1 ability.
Off the bow,
yeah.
Yep. So you load Bolton Shot with the bow, you give it +1, you fire it for 0, and it already has go again. And if it hits, it'll reload the bow, allowing you to take advantage of the go again. And this is 0 cost. 0 cost 4 power is already really good.
I meant Lexi's bow, not her ability. I might have said it the other way around.
I don't know if you did, but I assumed you meant the bow as well.
Yeah. I did.
Yeah. I understood. We're on the same page.
Just want to clarify that.
One of our books may have been upside down, but we're on the same page.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like Bolton Shot. The only problem I see here is like there's so many good rares.
Yep.
And Lexi you only have the 6, and Lexi is gonna want some number of cold waves.
Yep.
Possibly 4 at least. So maybe you could see a world in which you do like red cold wave, yellow cold wave, and then red Bolton Shot. And you're just kind of getting to do a lot of things in one turn.
I could see it.
But yeah, so Bolton Shot's really, really good.
It might not be better than Cold Wave.
Yeah.
Like even the blue one.
This might be something where this is actually where Azalea is looking to spend her rare slots. That might be what this is. This is the
I
Azalea
could definitely
card.
see Azalea using that.
Although I don't know how, and that's the problem, is I don't know how easily she can buff it. That's the real question.
Right. You'd have to maybe use your armor, your equipment pieces.
So you're gonna overflex to load your bow with Bolton Shot, which you're then gonna fire, which is gonna buff it, which is gonna give it go again, and then if it hits, because it's super buff now, it'll reload, putting in another arrow so you can fire again. Yeah. Alright, I like Bolton Shot, but all I'm seeing here is problems now. This could be really good. It's something you'd have to test it to really know for sure.
You would, yeah.
Alright, and then... Yeah.
This is such a situational, like...
Yeah. I mean, so for one, we don't use defense reactions.
No.
And it's hard to use them in Blitz, because you're giving up some slot of your main board for something that's not always going to be good or relevant. So it's definitely hard to justify it, per se.
Mm-hmm.
And so then, if you're not in a matchup where that matters, this is 0 cost to give +3. Which just makes it worse than overflex and take aim, right? So, I don't know. I don't think this is the right meta for this. I don't think there's enough things where that second part matters, in Blitz especially. So, yeah. If you are playing Commoner at a local store, and one person there is a verified sociopath who plays Trap Ranger every single time.
Oh, God. Yep.
Then you play this. then you play this.
Yeah, so it's essentially a meta card.
Yeah. And it's a meta card for a deck that doesn't exist, essentially. It's for either bad decks or decks that don't exist.
It's a meta card against a meta deck.
Yeah, it's just, it's not worth it. It's not worth it. That's the one where we're like, no. I think that is without a doubt the worst one in this entire list. I think Release the Tension's the worst.
Yeah.
Followed by maybe Rock Slide Trap.
Really?
Rock Slide Trap's bad. That's the one that gives -2.
Yeah. No, I'm saying it's...
You think you're saying the Release the Tension being worse than that. You're saying that's weird. That I
think
this
Rock
one
Slide
lower.
might be lower.
Yeah. I'm gonna stick by my Release the Tension.
Okay.
That may just be because I just hate it for being bad. Whereas like Rock Slide Trap is like they clearly didn't know what traps were supposed to be, and they just kind of like threw these together, and they're just doing the best they can.
See, Rock Slide Trap is a defense reaction. This one, however, does something.
I mean, it's an action card. That's true. I think I hate it because it's from, what is this? Tales of Aria, I think, right? Oh, it's from Everfest.
What?
So like they should have known better by this point.
Yes, they should have.
Really. They printed a bunch of better, non-attack action cards for Ranger than this. This was the last one they made, and it's the worst one. When they made the traps, Tales of Aria hadn't come out yet, which was like half the Ranger cards. So they just had no idea what they were doing.
Maybe they're just trying to cover their bases. They're just like, we know there's someone out there
that's going to build the Trap Ranger.
Yeah.
They're just all defense reactions. It's a wizard deck that just has all defense reactions in it, and they're just hoping that they'll eventually find the Chain Lightning combo to kill you with it, and they're just not going to die in the meantime. Maybe. All right, well then let's look at the ice cards. Not many to look at, and probably not many you'd really care about. So this is just an icy encounter that has the discard effect instead.
Right. It is kind of expensive, though.
It's actually, what does a red icy encounter do? Does it do the same amount of damage?
Let's find out.
Did we put it in the Lexi deck?
Yes, we did.
Oh, maybe that's what you drop for gold. Oh wait, no, that's an ice card. That's what we feed off.
It is an ice card.
Is that 6 for the red
So
one?
yeah, it does 6 damage.
So that does more damage.
Yep. Cost 2.
And I assume these are all discard for 2? Yeah. So the thing that changes is the damage.
Yep.
And it blocks for 2. Yeah, I think it's pretty bad.
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to run it, you'd probably run it for the blue because it does more that way.
But it's still good. Yeah, so it's like it's damage that's not going to hit, probably. And it has to hit to make them discard. And it has to hit and then for them to not pay for it. Although, again, like it depends. If they're holding all reds, you discard a card. Because
that's true.
You would lose 2 cards to pay for it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't like this. You could just use the common card that makes them discard cards, where you're just like, all right, I play this for 0 and you discard cards.
I guess you'd play the yellow because that way at least it does.
It has the 4. Yeah. And the real ultimate question is do you want to use any number of your only 6 rare cards to put this garbage in your deck?
So the only reason I would is because it's an ice that you can fuse off of.
But the thing is, you have enough ice cards to fuse off of already.
Right.
So, like, are you going to replace Ice Amulet with this?
I don't think so. Well, I don't think so.
Yeah. I don't think so either. And Ice Amulet does the same thing that this card does. Only it doesn't have to hit. You just have to fuse another ice card, and then you can crack the amulet. So, and the amulet pitches for 3. So.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, I think this is a bad one.
Yeah.
This is just bad. Icequake, on the other hand, this is a better card, I feel like. It's not crazy good.
Right.
But it's a come to fight that
creates frostbite tokens. Yeah. So that's pretty decent.
So I would talk about how mediocre this seems to be, but I used 2 rare slots on blue Oath of the Arcanite in my Viserai deck.
No.
So can I really criticize a card like this when I'm using a pitch 3 buff and attack +1 and make a Rune Chant token, because I feel that making the Rune Chant token is worth it when Icequake is doing the same thing but for frostbite tokens.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, it's better in a way, because this is going to pump your next attack, but then all of your attacks this turn will create frostbite tokens if they hit.
That's true.
So, I mean, I could see you spending a rare slot on this. with Ice Lexi. I could see you doing like 4 cold waves and then 2 ice quakes.
Yep.
And then you just have them for like the crazy turn where you can just like do this and then fire 2 attacks and you're like, yeah, so much frostbite.
Yeah. What are you gonna do?
End your turn and destroy all of your frostbite tokens.
That's right.
But yeah, I think that's probably going to be one of the best ones.
Well, would you do that over the one? Would you do the blue?
Would you do the blue one? Much like the Oath of the Arknight argument I just made? You could, actually.
Yeah.
You actually could.
Okay.
The question is, do you care about the resource enough? I almost lean more towards you'd end up running the yellow.
Okay.
But we did run a number of blues in that deck, so maybe you would go the blue. And then we have one more pump spell.
All right.
This one, though, costs 0.
Cost 0, gives dominate.
It gives dominate. That's the big thing. Now, the problem here is that it has to be ice or elemental.
Right.
Which means cold wave it would work on.
Mm-hmm.
And chilling ice vein.
And flake out.
And well.
Oh wait. Yeah, elemental.
It would work on flake out. I want you to read what flake out does again. Yeah, flake out's not great from that reason.
Well, I mean, you could, instead of fusing
flake out, you could play this
yeah.
and it'll also pump it, which is good. But it really is good for chilling ice vein and the other one. I forget what it's called.
Blizzard Bolt?
Yes, Blizzard Bolt, because those are the on-hit effect ones.
Okay.
Because Blizzard Bolt is the Frostbite tokens, and Chilling Ice Vein is the discard.
Yep.
So I could see it being kind of good for that. The question is it worth the rare slot? That's where we run into the larger problems, it seems.
I guess this doesn't affect Cold Wave, right? Because that's not an on-hit. That's just an automatic ability, right?
Yes. So all it does for Cold Wave is that it makes it do damage.
Yeah. Okay.
it makes it hit. Yeah. Well, it makes it do a fair bit of damage if you use this on a red one, because now it's going to hit for 8 with Dominate, so they're going to block 3, take 5. But it's a kill shot rather than... So it's like, if you're going to use the rare on a pump spell, would you take Weave Ice over Icequake? Is Dominate worth more than possibly creating more Frostbite tokens? That's where I run into troubles.
Well, I mean, at some point, having like so many Frostbite tokens becomes irrelevant, doesn't it?
Well, I mean, sort of. Although, like, if you can get enough on them so that they have to just end their turn, they have like 4 cards in hand and they do nothing, that's a pretty good feeling.
It is.
You essentially just gave yourself 2 back-to-back turns without them doing anything.
Mm-hmm.
And the more Frostbites, the more you can guarantee that sort of thing.
That is true.
So
okay. I do like that aspect.
I think there is an argument for either, though. I think both could work.
Yeah, I guess it depends on if you want to, like, if you want to dirtle or if you want to kill him.
Yeah, this is the aggro choice, and Icequake is the dirtle choice.
Yeah.
Yep, that makes sense. Because I think kind of at the point we're at here, like, we only have the one Ranger deck currently, and it's Tempo Lexi, and I'm pretty confident after looking at this list that your rare slots are going towards, like, 4 Cold Waves and then 2 something else. And I kind of lean towards Weave Ice / Icequake being better than Bolt and Shot for her.
Right.
Or any of the other ones, like maybe Silver the Tip, maybe Red Silver the Tip, so you can dig for the like the payoff arrows.
Yeah, you're digging for your payoff arrows, but then you're burying off your fuse arrows. Fuse cards.
Well, yeah, but I mean, you don't need those. You don't need those. You find the 1 ice card in hand, you fire off Silver the Tip, you get your 3 Cold Waves, and you go off.
And then in your late game, you only have ice cards to control.
that is true. That is actually true. But, yeah, so I would say the argument to me would actually be between Weave Ice, Icequake, and Silver the Tip.
Okay.
And I mean, realistically speaking, you could just throw in 6 cold waves and call it good enough. But,
you could.
But I feel like probably the right answer is 4 and 2. Maybe.
I think so. It's you'd probably want to have a variety.
Yeah.
You wouldn't want to just do
all cold waves.
Yeah.
Even though it'd be really funny to make everything cost 3 or more. But I guess like so you're almost never going to have 3, or it may actually be physically impossible to ever have a turn in which you have 3 cold waves go off. But
that's true.
If you go 6, you're gonna find them a lot. And you're going to find multiples a lot, too. And then you can constantly be making your opponent want to punch you in the face. Which, is kind of victory in and of itself.
Right.
All right, and then the last stuff we have the lightning cards. Which we have not built Lightning Lexi. Not necessarily super thrilled with the idea of building Lightning Lexi.
Maybe it'll turn out like some decks where we thought it was mediocre, and then we built it, and then we played it, and it was kind of okay.
We make like a whole episode about Everfest cards coming out, and we roundly mock the Runeblade cards that are coming out, and then suddenly you do like 16 plus damage in a single turn to someone with your Shrill of the Skullhorn, and you're like, oh man, maybe this isn't that bad.
16 doesn't feel mediocre now.
But if you do build Lightning Lexi, I think this is actually one of the better Lightning rares you could consider Flash. Because it's going to give any of your arrow cards go again.
That's true.
Which is actually kind of probably the more unique way you can go with Lightning Ranger.
Right.
That's like you're just actually attacking a lot.
And it's good for the fusion, whatever that does for your Lightning.
It fuses. Yeah, not a lot. One of them gains go again if you fuse it,
which is
snapshot. Ironic. Yep. When like all of the Lightning cards give go again, yeah.
It's like, oh, I could fuse it with this card. I could play this card.
There are some good ones. Okay. All right. We'll look up. We will look up Lightning Ranger common. You know what? It's not a lightning card, is it? It's not talented at all. The next page. Did I miss it? Oh, wait a minute. No.
Is it elemental?
Yeah. Okay, so Buzzbolt's the best one from what I remember.
Right.
Dazzling Crescendo. That gains go again.
Yep.
Is Frazzle good too? I think Frazzle might be. Buzzbolt does non-specify damage. And that does it for all attacks that hit this turn.
Okay, that's
This is the best card in Lightning Lexi. Ironically, this is better than the rare one too. Yeah. This is the real reason you go Lightning Lexi is Buzzbolt. Dazzling Crescendo will just gain go again, which Flash gives go again, so who cares?
Yep.
Frazzle is whenever an attack would deal damage this turn, instead it deals that much damage plus 1.
Okay.
So if you can combine Frazzle with Buzzbolt, they're all going to do non-specified damage, and this is going to make them do 1 more.
Okay.
So you could build a Lightning Lexi where you're just kind of using Flash and stuff to give yourself a lot of go again, and you're just stacking a bunch of these on it.
Right. It's possible.
It is doable. And Flash would be great for that, because this hits all of your arrows on the red one. You could probably even get away with a yellow one, too, which would do 1 or greater, because a lot of these are 1s, like Frazzle is 1, Buzzbolt is 1. So, yeah, this is something you could... You would almost certainly spend some of your rare slots on this. It's also just kind of the best lightning rare to use. That's why we used it in Briar, too.
Yep.
Again, I love that they call this mono red aggro, because the first time I saw it, I was immediately going to make fun of it, because I'm like, there's no red color like Magic. Like, it's not Magic with the 5 colors. And then I realized that you are playing red card tribal. They are all pitch 1s for your rabble. I love it. I love it. It is, in fact, mono red aggro.
Mono blue aggro.
Yeah.
Why?
Weave lightning is questionable. Again, same thing as Weave Ice. It's got to be fused to gain go again.
Yeah.
So the problem is this is the card you'd be using to fuse.
Yep. I feel like I've run into that problem before.
So I think it's probably not worth it because I think it's going to be a little bit too hard to... It's basically if you're struggling for lightning cards, you would consider this just to have for fusing.
Right.
But you probably have enough commons you can run. Probably. Although after the banning, that does definitely hurt. But because a lot of the lightning cards are bad, the commons, they're bad. They're actively terrible.
Yep. Pour one out.
So maybe you do run this. Like, yeah, it's so bad. It's so rough to be a post. And Ball Lightning was broken. It was a terribly designed card that they really didn't think about the slightest bit. Like, it's so broken that this is a 0 cost with Go Again that buffs all of your damage on the chain. Like, that's disgusting. But other than it, like, Lightning Surge is good, but Heaven's Claw is terrible. Shock Striker is terrible. Amulet of Lightning is actually good. But Lightning Surge is good because if you play from Arsenal against Go Again, so it's just a generic good 0 cost attack, so that's fine. But Heaven's Claw is 1 for 5, vanilla.
Yep.
I mean, at least it only costs 1. Shock Striker is 1 for 5. And you can now pay a little bit extra to make it deal a little more damage to him. Ooh. This is good, though. This is actually good, because if you can fuse something, you can give it a Go Again.
Right. So
if this works really well for the building a stack of on hits. So this is rapidly turning into building Lightning Briar episode. It's actually kind of neat though. There's a lot of neat stuff you can do with this.
Yep.
Yeah. So essentially, I think you could run Weave Lightning, but you're probably not going to because I think you can find enough lightning to consistently fuse without having to dip into that.
Right.
This is terrible. This is bad. I hate it. I've seen it in a number of decks, but like, it's not terrible. It's an instant, so it's kind of like pseudo attack reaction. The only difference is it doesn't block for anything.
Yep.
But it's a pseudo attack reaction that gives you +3 for 0 cost. Sounds great. And if you can use it to fuse, but like, do you want to use the rare slots on this? I feel like the answer is no.
Yeah.
But you can use it on all of your arrows, which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
Especially since you do have a lot of on-hit effects. And attack reactions are good with on-hit effects, but I'm unconvinced. You can use Razor Reflex on arrows, can't you? I think you can. I'm just like I'm thinking about this again, and like, and how we would give Go Again to a bunch of stuff, and I think
I have to attack action cards.
I think it does just say attack action cards. Did it not reset?
You gotta reset and search in there.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I have to put a new.
Yep.
Alright. Attack action card would cost 1 less. Gains +3, and if this hits, it gains Go Again.
Okay.
Yeah, you can actually run this in the... If you're doing on-hit Ranger, you can actually run that. Again, I think this is like the big advantage for this one is that it's a lightning card.
Yep. That's essentially it.
But it can't block, so if you draw it, it could kill you.
Yeah.
As someone who has played a game as Data Doll, that's more relevant than you think it will be.
Yeah.
With all of her items that also are in the same situation. You die to that a lot more than you would think. So that's my big concern.
Yep.
That's my big concern. Although again, it is a lightning card. It's kind of nice. And it's unlike Razor Reflex, it costs 0 rather than 1.
It does.
But Razor Reflex gives Go Again. It's part of the card.
Yep.
So I think I just run Razor Reflex.
Yeah, I think so.
It costs 1 more, but it gives Go Again. And yeah, that's the Ranger Rares.
All right.
And also how to build lightning or lightning Lexi. Wow, look at that.
So it gave us some inspiration for our
Yeah.
current Lexi deck,
Yep.
a non-arrow ice Lexi deck, and a regular lightning
We
Lexi deck.
talked about so many different decks we could build now
We
off
did.
of adding these rares because there's the no arrow trap based ice
Oh, God, the
Lexi.
trap. Jesus.
Yep, because that's what led us to the no arrow ice Lexi. It was the traps. And we talked about Azalea and Azalea things, and
We didn't do
really
any comprehensive things on Azalea, but I mean,
we just talked about a lot of things
just
she can
because
use.
Azalea's coming. Right?
Yeah,
Right?
of course.
Yes.
Go ahead. I mean, at some point I have to make it so that she can get absolutely abused by the Lexi one in the grudge match.
It's fine. We'll build the trap Lexi for that match, right?
You don't even need to. Tempo Lexi's already better. I don't think any Azalea deck is ever going to reach the point to give Ice Lexi Tempo a run for its money. It beat pre-banning Briar. Again, it shouldn't have, but it should have been close regardless.
It was.
And there's plenty of ways that could have gone better for the Lexi deck.
Yeah,
too.
the Lexi deck that we made is pretty solid.
Yeah.
So it even without adding the rares, it's still decent.
Yeah.
In fact, it's kind of hard to put the rares in there.
Because we're trying to go over what we would cut.
And
it's just going to get better. The rares are just going to make it even better.
Yep.
I think Tempo Lexi is probably legit. But yeah, I will build Azalea at some point, and I will march smiling into my own grave.
Unless I'm running the trap Lexi deck and just.
Well, then I might win.
Just every turn, it's a trap.
Yeah. You'll do that, and I will never trigger an on-hit effect on you that entire game. But I'm going to eventually kill you probably.
I'll also put in the.
My attacks probably hit harder.
I believe it.
And you're just going to have that one hand where, like, I'm not going to be able to do any damage to you, maybe, but you're going to literally have a hand that's, like, a defense reaction in your arsenal and 4 defense reactions in hand. And you're just like, I block for 1 billion! And then do nothing on your turn.
Yep.
But, yeah. That's the Ranger. There we go. Comprehensive. You should know exactly what you're doing when you go to build a Commoner Ranger deck now. 100%. Those rares are more interesting than I thought they'd be, though. Because, like, I like Silver the Tip. I'm probably going to put this in Azalea. At least some. There's going to be, like, at least 2 Silver the Tips.
I can see it.
I think, in the Azalea deck. I might run Bolt and Shot.
Yep.
I'm not 100% sure. Because that first condition's a little bit rough, but...
What card are you not going to play?
I'm not going to play any of the traps. I'm not going to play any of the traps. I'm not going to play the elemental cards.
Yep.
Not going to play Release the Tension.
Yeah.
That's So, it narrows down the rares that Azalea can use to Bolt and Shot, Redliner, Take Aim, Take Cover, Silver the Tip.
Yep.
At least that'll make it easy on me for building that deck. Yeah. All right, well, that was episode 9 of the Vodcast.
Yep. Like, comment, subscribe.
Yep. The usual like, comment, subscribes. Let us know what you want to see in other episodes, too, because we still have a bunch of different classes worth of rares to get through, but I'm sure there's other topics we can cover and all that, too. And I have to look at the list again, see if we can do something a little bit different next week. Or, well, next bye-week.
They don't know that.
But yeah, we'll catch you on the next one then.
All right. Bye.